Hey everybody, welcome to DadsDen of Pop Culture and Justice League Monday. And today we're taking a look at Justice League America number 33 from December of 1989. And Justice League Europe number 9 from December of 1989. 89 good times. I was a year away from graduating high school, going to the comic domain for my comic books because it was real close to my high school. Well, let's take a look at these. Now, we just got through with the JLE crossover involving fighting sort of vampires and the Gray Man in Eastern Europe. Now, typically, when you finish a little arc like that, you'll get a sort of one-off issue, and oftentimes it'll be sort of a power down, relax, get to know characters kind of issue. Notably, when I was doing Alpha Flight Mondays last year, they almost never got one of those. They were lucky if they got one page where there wasn't a tragedy. But we are sort of getting that with Justice League America. Not quite as much with Justice League Europe, although there is a lot of character work in this one, and we ultimately is going to have a happy ending to it. But parts of it are a little bit more serious. So these are going to set us up for the next arcs that we're going to get in these comic books. Let's jump right in. We'll move JLE out of the way for a moment, and we're going to focus on Justice League America. We have Guy Gardner and Kilowog, formerly a Green Lantern, on the cover. Some good stuff in this one. Story by Giffen and DeMatteis, and art by Adam Hughes and Art Nichols. Okay. We begin with Guy Gardner. He's a movie star now. He is an absolute huge, well, maybe not huge, but he's a movie star now. And funny enough, that actually gets brought up. Well, the idea of a Guy Gardner movie does get brought up in this issue. So he's bored. Everybody's away. What is he going to do in a story called Nitwits, Knuckleheads, and Poozers? Well, what he's going to do, and I should mention, because it's only right, Bob Lappin doing the letters, Gene D'Angelo colors. Kevin Dooley is the assistant editor, Andy Helfer, the big-time editor here. All men, trademark DC Comics Incorporated. Do you think they accidentally have made their names a trademark of DC when they did this? Could be. So he's bored. He's flying around. He decides he's going to go out and visit the old Green Lantern Corps in Southern California. Of course, along the way, just to have a little bit of fun, he does I don't know, pulls a face, I guess sometimes people would use that term, to a guy in an airplane flying by. Thinks he's hilarious. Hey, it's Guy Gardner. So he gets out there. Arisia of the kind of formerly of the Green Lantern Corps, because at this point, because of whole storyline, they had all basically lost their rings and their powers. She's bidding farewell to Kilowog. She comes out and visits him. He wants her to bring him back the recent book on Jackie O, because he's trying to understand. What are you trying to understand? Stuff. Just buy it, okay? So he's kind of out here. He's lonely. Kilowog's an interesting case, character-wise. He came from a planet with kind of a hive mind in a way, and so being alone has been really, really rough on him. And but hey, Guy's coming to visit, and that's how Guy says hello. Crash slams into him, and what we're going to get between these two is a knockdown, drag out fight. It's Guy Gardner. You would expect no less. But before we finish that fight, we're going to take a quick look here at Blue and Gold. Now, I did not cover Justice League International Annual number 3, but in Justice League International Annual number 3, the island nation of Kui became annexed by the Justice League International. Now, the reason was they were trying to avoid being fought over by the Americans and the Soviets. We're still in the Cold War at this point, although we're getting right to the end. So Blue and Gold decide to beam out. They have the teleportation tubes there now. they decide to beam out because Blue Beetle has a fantastic idea. And the way the Cooeyans are handled here is extremely reminiscent of F Troop and the Hikawi Indians. It is designed to make fun of the stereotypes and the tropes about, Polynesians, Pacific Islanders, etc., that you got in old movies and stuff. So when you read this, you have to keep that in mind, that the idea is to mock the stereotypes, it's not trying to forward the stereotypes or keep them alive. Well, they meet up with this young guy here who speaks perfect English, and he's going to take him to the chief. And of course, Booster Gold is very worried about what's going to come of all this. He's not sure he really likes Blue Beetle's idea. Back to Guy and Kilowog. He's doing what he does. Cowabunga. Hey, on my planet, that means war. Or, yeah, where I come from, that means war. Well, what do you know? I'm an intergalactic linguist, and I didn't even know it. And guess what? It's time for your lesson in the universal language, and I ain't talking love. And so he flies by, gets smacked, goes through several walls, ends up with his head stuck in a picture of Hal Jordan. This is humiliating. You did this on purpose, didn't you, Rhino Breath? Nah, but I sure wish I'd thought of it. So there he goes. And we get, him stomping the heck out of Guy Gardner and teaching him a lesson. And Guy Gardner saying, yeah, nice try, Kilowog. Nice, but I never learn. Let's focus in on one of these shots. Hey, Adam Hughes, well known for drawing beautiful women in comic books, but the guy can do action as well. And I do like that I think he brings a little bit of a cartoonist's flair to his work. So we get the meeting between Booster and Blue Beetle and the Chief, and along with the Chief's nephew, I believe Herb is his name, who went to Brooklyn College. And they're saying, no, look, here's the idea. We're going to build this resort. We're going to make some money. Oh, I will notice that up in here we have the humana from Jackie Gleason and Hookah Heiny Ho, Pee Wee Herman. So we're getting little things like that stuck in. A lot of good reference stuff. But they're going, no, this will be great. We're going to make a lot of money, etc. Think of it. Breakfast with Donald Trump. Lunch with Bon Jovi. Dinner with Gavin McLeod. Gavin McLeod. The Love Boat. Do. So, hey, Gavin McLeod, they're excited about. This tells you, though, that once upon a time, the name of Donald Trump did not invoke terror or extreme joy among people. He was just this kind of a celebrity who had a casino and etc. Boy, times have changed. So here we see the aftermath of their battle, heavy breathing from Guy, panting from Kilowog. You. All right, give me 5, brother. So they're having a good time. And he loans Kilowog his ring to rebuild the house that they just destroyed. Kilowog's cool with that. He hasn't gotten to play with a ring in a long time since everything went down with the Guardians. And while they're chatting about this and that, and for example, chatting about, Guy writes him a letter about 5 times a week, and he says, so what's up with you? You still beating Batman up every week like you said in your letters? Yeah, but I'll tell you, he's been getting really out of hand since they put out that movie about him. How come they put a movie out about you? Oh, well, they are doing one. Getting Sly Stallone to play me too. I'm still never sure when you're serious. I'm always serious, except when I'm making a joke. Right. Okay, so there we get a little mention of the Batman movie that come out in 1989. Still, pretty well regarded by people, and a little reference to Sly Stallone playing Guy Gardner in a movie. They decided to go with somebody else because, of course, it's like 30 years later. At any rate, Guy gets an idea here. He gets an idea here because, old Kilowog, he ain't had that much to do for a while. You still handy with the machines, huh? Always. Say, So Arigia gets home, reads a note. Guy told Kilowog he can get him into the JLI, so he's going over there to see what he can do. And he's like, oh, sure, he'll get you in. He'll get you in deep trouble is what he'll do. But then she reads the whole thing. Oh, P.S. I used Guy's ring to rebuild the Citadel, etc. Use Guy's ring. But when the charge wears off, creak, uh-oh. So the house starts to fall down at that point. So Maxwell Lord gets back to the embassy after being away, doing something. Pop that open there. And he walks in to see this large alien seemingly dismantling their security system. Oh, you must be Max, Guy's assistant. He told me all about you. He did. Yeah, I'll have all this stuff cleaned up in a jiffy. You will. But I got to tell you, buddy, you can't be a very good assistant with all the responsibilities Guy has. You could at least see to it that he's got decent security. I mean, this stuff's antique. Gardner! Okay, you get the idea. And of course, we get a little meeting, kind of yelling at Guy. But, Oberon's like, I got to be honest with you, this ain't a bad idea. I mean, dude's already revamped the security system, fixed the tubes, he fixed, I think, Fire's hairdryer, etc. We might be able to use this guy for real. And of course, they're talking about this while Guy is listening in. He's like, yeah, they're finally seeing I'm a genius, They're finally, pretty soon I'm going to be in charge of everything. But until then, well, he sees what? Sees another jetliner flying by. So, yeah, he's going to go pull that stunt again. Well, Booster and Beetle get back. And what do they see? It's Kilowog. Hey, man, how's it going? Hey, Beetle. Okay, and this gives Blue Beetle an idea because he has basically secured permission to build a resort on Kui. So they teleport over. Here it is. Well, I gotta admit, it has possibilities. Don't let the natural beauty throw you. It'll be great once we're done with it. Lots of big, gaudy buildings, people drinking till they're sick, spending money till they're thoroughly bankrupt. You get the idea. And he's like, yeah, just let me finish up a few things. I guess what he say. I gotta finish rewiring the embassy, fix the tubes over in Paris, check up on the Brazilian embassy. Give me 6 hours, then I'm all yours. 6 hours? Look, does that not remind you a little bit of, well, about 100 different movies where two guys are getting ready to do something stupid? But the first thing that came to my mind was the fake beer ad on SNL with Sandler and Farley. Classic stuff. So look, Yahoo, yippee! The League. This complicates matters. Damn. Why that island? Why now? Doesn't matter. They're here. Hey. And I'm going to do everything in my power to get them out. Aquaman. Dude, I'll be honest with you. I'm an Aquaman fan. I always was. Since the Super Friends. Always one of my favorites. Love that orange-green color scheme. All right. Well, that's Justice League America. It's beginning. It'll be a 3-issue series involving Kui and the misadventures of Blue and Gold. And this is kind of like, I think, when Blue and Gold started to really become a thing. Like their friendship, they're the bosom buddies, they're doing stupid stuff together, etc. That really became a thing. It's funny to think, a couple characters that were never A-listers, and this series really did make them, maybe not A-listers, but it made them kind of beloved DC Comics characters. All right. So Justice League Europe #9, story by Giffen and DeMatteis, art by Nichols and Bart Sears. Bart Sears is inking on this one. Nichols is doing the pencils. And we see Superman apparently operating on Power Girl. Now, if you remember, in the last issue of the vampire fighting arc, she got walloped by the Gray Man and in the hospital, not sure if she's going to survive. And that's how we start with this one in Under the Skin. And I will mention Bob Lappin doing letters, Gene D'Angelo colors, Kevin Dooley, Frick, and Andy Helfer, Frack. If you don't know who Frick and Frack are, well, you just don't know American pop culture. Okay. So they're pacing, they're worried. The doctor is telling them, we got to do an operation if she's going to survive. That's her only hope. And Catherine says, well, then operate. Please operate. We can't. Now, why can't they? Well, because of her invulnerable skin, they can't do anything. And so, to put it bluntly, Miss Colbert, I think now would be a good time to contact the superhero mortician. Great. Yeah, real good bedside manner from that guy. Well, back at the embassy, Ralph is kind of having a tizzy because Sue, his wife, has made a call to Metropolis. But, you weren't authorized. You can't do that. And she's like, hey, look, everybody's sitting on their hands. Nobody's doing anything about it. Kara's my friend, and I am not going to let her die. So she called Superman. Okay. And so she goes to the hospital to break the news to Captain Atom, to do it herself, and leaves Ralph in charge of monitor duty. And he immediately starts trying to get out of it. Hey, Dimitri, whatever it is being, Ralph. No. Superman flies into Paris, gets to the hospital. Everybody's freaking out. Oh, my God, it's Superman. Hey, come on. We'd all be doing that if we actually saw that guy for real. Back at the embassy, and this is a good segment. Now, like I said, oftentimes between big action issues, you have more character-driven issues. There's a character thing going on with Captain Atom and what's going on with this. We're also going to get some character work between Ralph and Wally West, the new Flash. Wally wants to have a serious talk. He's kind of tired of being compared to Barry Allen. All right, back at the hospital, Superman actually shows up before Sue has gotten there to explain everything. Little bit of a contretemps there, but the doctor is like, well, theoretically, he could do it. This is great. Hey, they got a great plan. A little more character work now between Metamorpho and Batman. Metamorpho is watching over Kara. Batman shows up. I don't think she can hear you. Huh? How long have you been skulking out there? If I were skulking, you wouldn't have noticed me. So we're going to have a moment between these two. You'll recall that Metamorpho was a member of Batman and the Outsiders. So he was part of the Outsiders team. And one of the things that he's annoyed about is after being brought back to life, he hasn't heard from any of his former comrades, which you can kind of understand. All right, back to Flash and Elongated Man. He's saying, look, man, it's been hard on me going through all this stuff. You're always giving me trouble. You're blah, 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 blah. And Ralph keeps trying to interrupt. Wally. And finally says, okay, look, we'll be better friends if you let me interrupt when I say Wally. Just listen a sec, okay, kid? And don't give me that, what kind of a lecture is he going to dish out now? Look, it makes me feel about 1,000 years old. So what he says is, we're going to start telling stories about Barry Allen. We're going to start swapping stories about the guy, which at first he's like, Barry again. He's like, no, trust me on this one. So he begins this story about the time Barry and him were going after a museum had somewhere, had to do with Mirror Master and druids and such. Okay. So those two are doing that. Back to Superman. They've rigged up this device that will allow the doctors by remote control to make incisions, do what they have to do using Superman's heat vision. So he's basically locked into this thing and they're going to be controlling his head movements, right? And obviously working with him on when to use laser vision and when not to. So they start the operation. Very little blood. Now, we have to get through the muscle sheath. All right. And they're watching this, and of course, Captain Atom is still guilt-ridden, and they kind of mean, I had to do something. You were paralyzed with guilt. He goes, oh, thanks, Sue. Oh, I didn't mean paralyzed in a bad way. She means he actually cares. This hit him and he wasn't thinking rationally. And they brought Kilowog over. Well, we just seen Kilowog joining the league here a second ago. They brought Kilowog over to whip up that machine. Says, X, if you called me an hour earlier, I could have put a stereo in it for you. So here we get a moment between Batman and Metamorpho. Now, we've actually seen maybe some good character stuff between Elongated Man and Flash. We've seen some good character stuff between Captain Atom and Sue. This one ain't going to go so well because he's telling them, you guys left me hanging, Bats. I was an inconvenience, so you cut me loose. Don't come crawling back to me now looking to ease your conscience. That's not why I'm here. I heard you had a partial memory dysfunction. That could indicate brain damage. You're in a highly sensitive position, and I feel a responsibility towards the JLE. One unstable member could endanger the whole group. Unstable? That's hot coming from you. A guy who slinks through sewers dressed up like Dracula and beats up stoolies. You can drop dead. Now get out of my face before I paint your eye slits black. Freaking jerk. At least no more unstable than usual. So it's Batman being Batman and not being real tender. So the doctor's getting in there and he's saying it's incredible she's still alive. We have to stay calm. Don't panic. Just follow the textbook. Keep simplifying. My God, is that her liver? Because basically she's not like human. She has different organs, and she took a lot of damage. So he's like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to save her. He's trying to keep calm. We go back. We see they're being talked about on the news. Animal Man and Rocket Red chatting about stuff. And he's like, well, they're finally concerned about one of us, but it took somebody almost dying. But okay. So he says, well, where's Ralph? He's going to help me brush up on my French. He's like, it's not a good idea, buddy. Huh? He is with Wally. Very personal. What are they doing? Healing. Okay. And they are, in fact, because we see them both laughing. They're getting through their grief by sharing stories about Barry Allen, the original Flash. Well, the original Flash from this world. Well, now the worlds are confirmed. Okay. Just Barry Allen, the Flash. And, they needed it. They needed it. And he's like, so you're going to stop, ragging on me and tell me about Barry all the time? No, probably not, But he's telling him, look, Barry was very proud of you, talked about you all the time. I'm proud of you too, etc. But no, I'm probably going to still talk about Barry a lot. I guess I can live with that. Say, I didn't think the Druids had mirrors. They didn't. The joke was on all of us. Ah! You can almost give him an Alf voice. Well, maybe not. All right. So then we have Metamorpho, who's kind of like, pitying himself, as he often does. Well, that was a pretty impressive display of self-pity. Like nobody else in the city has problems. I shouldn't come down so hard on the Bat Boy. He can't help it if he comes off like a really spooky Patton. Damn, I really hate apologizing. So, and I can't blame him that much for being upset. Well, doctor's done with the surgery, and he kind of gives them the news. Well, we saved her life, but her powers are probably going to be significantly lessened with what we had to do to keep her alive. They could even be gone entirely. And as she wakes up, she sees Superman. Now remember, originally, Power Girl was a character from Earth 2, which was sort of the golden age DC Comics Earth. And in that reality, she was essentially Supergirl. Superman was her cousin. Now, this is post-crisis, so things are a little bit different. They changed her origin. She's not Kryptonian, although she still, I think at one point, believed that she was. So there's not the kind of link between these two characters that there might otherwise have been. But he's still in there, and he's saying, well, there could be some side effects to the operation. And at that point, Captain Atom enters. He's like, Superman, you don't have to do this. I'll tell her. So he breaks the news to her. Superman's like, yeah, I better get back to Metropolis. And says here, I wonder if she'll thank me in 6 months if the worst comes to pass. So they have saved Power Girl. Now, I think part of what they're doing there is with Power Girl, who essentially had Superman level powers, it complicates a group comic. It was always an issue, even in the old Justice League of America, because, very often you had to find reasons that Superman couldn't solve everybody's problem himself, right? So we see at the last bit, Kara saying, well, I still am healing really, really, really quickly, but she's kind of snuck out to test herself. And she says, yeah, the speed and the strength are still metahuman, still cooking, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings. I can live with that. So she has already sort of come to terms with what has happened to her. Next, After the Fox, which is a very funny movie starring Peter Sellers that I just watched about 2 weeks ago. And I'll just end saying, great flick. You ought to go watch it. So that'll do it for this Justice League Monday, Justice League America number 33, Justice League Europe number 9. In-betweener sort of issues, and both of them doing some great character work. Obviously, there is a lot of humor in both these books, especially Justice League America. But they could get serious and even a little bit sappy when they wanted to, and I think that's one of the things that made them so popular. Like books like the X-Men, like the Teen Titans, you kind of got to like these characters. You kind of got into their lives a little bit, and it made you feel closer to them. It wasn't just superheroes who beat up bad guys. They do a good job in both these issues. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this little review, maybe give it a like, maybe think of subscribing, sharing with a friend would all be very cool. Doing these every Monday. This year, 2025, is Justice League America and Justice League Europe. One issue a week we're running through. We started at issue number 1 in January. We're running right through to the end of the year. So you might want to check back in if you enjoy these books or would just want to know more about them. But until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. And I'll see you, hopefully again soon, in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.